Welcome back to the Havoc Rundown. Tonight we're recapping the action from the November NHRL qualifier, an event that shook up the brackets one last time before the 2025 championships. But tonight's not just about fights, it's also about what it's like telling the story of those fights. We're joined by someone who's become a fixture on the stream and behind the scenes this season. You've seen him dashing through the pits, calling post-match chaos, and bringing energy and insight to the desk, whether he's chasing the builders for interviews or keeping pace with the fights in the box. He's quickly become one of the voices of the sport. Please welcome NHRL pit reporter and commentator Richard Tieman, right? Is that how you say the last name?
That is correct. Yeah, way to go. Nice.
I am very bad at saying names, so getting one of the first try is really good for me. Thank you. Well, Thank you, Richard, for coming on and talking to us.
Yeah, man, I'm happy for the invite. Always grateful to be included in stuff like this. You never know. The one thing I know about the robot fighting community is they're very particular. So I just sort of wait and see if anybody's interested in talking to me, and then happily accept the invitations.
Very cool. Well, we were very interested in talking to you and getting to know you. So we'll see how that goes, because we have a bunch of questions and our listeners really wanted to get to know you too. So we will figure that out later. Joining us tonight are also the Rundown crew. We are down Ashley. She is not with us tonight, but who is with us is Thomas Carroll.
The moon is so huge tonight.
Ryan Hunter.
The moon is in the sky like a big pizza pie.
And printing our Fantasy League trophy at the moment is Tony Baker.
I want my son back.
And of course, I am Justin, your host. So let's jump in. And of course, how we start almost every episode is we go over to that weird little corner that Ryan runs. So we're going to go and check out Ryan's Game Corner. Ryan, what do you got for us?
Okay, so we're going to do this game quick tonight. I didn't want to not do a game, but we're going to do this game quick tonight. And usually we do Richard, we like to do games because it really breaks the ice with everybody and really gets everybody in a good mood. So we're going to play mix and match. Okay. I have two lists. One list is name of robots, and the other name is a category. And I actually have a graphic this time that shows exactly what the category is. Everybody, we're playing mix and match. Robots in Media is back.
Oh no!
Oh god!
At least I know.
Wait.
Some of them, at least.
I've seen some of these.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't want to do anything too bad. Okay, so on the left side of this graphic are all names of robots. On the right side of this graphic are all media properties. We're going to mix and match. Everybody is going to get a turn. I have used the Regulation Podcast draft reorderer, and I am going to shuffle everybody's names 20 times, and then we will go in that order.
20 times?
20 times.
One time.
Because 20 is a better number.
Okay, what about,
all right.
What about 3 times?
I'm confident in 3 of these, so if I'm 4th, I'm screwed.
All right, it's not that bad. All right. So we're going to go, every right answer is a point. If you get a wrong answer, we go to the next person. All right.
Dang.
First, Tony. Oh, wait, I should probably read them all for the audio users.
Yeah.
These are the robot names: Andrew, Wheatley, Omnidroid, Dolores, Gypsy Danger, Johnny 5, MS065, Psycho Zaku.
That's an actual bot?
Yes, it is. It actually has an even longer name. That's a shorter version of the name. The properties are Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt, Short Circuit, Bicentennial Man, Pacific Rim, The Incredibles, Westworld, and Portal 2. All right, Tony, why don't you Mix and match.
Sweet.
What if you don't mix and you don't match?
Johnny 5 is alive. From
No.
Yes, yes. From what?
Short Circuit.
Yes! Tony gets one right. Next.
Alive.
Yes. Although most of the movie, his name is Number 5, but towards the end, it becomes Johnny 5. Justin,
Yep.
it is your turn.
Yes. Cool. Gypsy Danger is Pacific Rim.
Yes, just against Gypsy Danger and Pacific Rim. Okay. Next is Richard.
Yes. Awesome. Dolores is Westworld.
Dolores is Westworld, yes. All right, Thomas.
Of course, I've got to go for. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know which one I want to go for. I think I'm gonna go for the one with the longest name.
Okay.
MS-065 Psycho Zaku is from Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt.
It is from Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt. I was going. There's a lot of Gundams with Gundam in the name, but this is an actual Gundam. It's actually a side unit thing. Okay,
Jay won't be disappointed.
it is my favorite model of all time. Is the Psycho Zaku. All right, going back to Tony.
The best comedian of all time was in this movie.
Yes,
It's Andrew in Bicentennial Man.
yes, it is Andrew and Bicentennial Man. I guess I didn't make this hard enough. I should have made it maybe
Well,
a
no.
little harder.
You're giving us the actual. So if
Yes.
you had done the last game and given us the actual media properties instead of going, here's the robot name, give me the media property without any kind of context. Like this is making it a lot easier.
Yeah.
We have a shot.
All right, Justin. I think there's
Yeah, 50-50.
only two
There's
left.
two left. Wheatley and
There's two
Omnidroid.
left. Yeah.
Yeah. Wheatley is Portal 2, isn't it?
Wheatley is Portal 2. All right,
Yes.
Richard. The last one.
You have to
Yes,
remember what hasn't
yeah.
been said. That
Oh,
was-
but yeah, no. Omnidroid is The Incredibles.
It is The Incredibles. Okay, perfect game. Everybody gets everything right. Congratulations. There was one of our listeners, Nick, did point out that I go hard games, easy game. So I guess that was easy game. So it's going to be super hard next time, just so you know.
I'm impressed that I would have gotten the Psycho Zaku right. I was a big fan
yeah?
of Gundam Wing back in the day. Duo
Yes.
was my favorite.
Yes.
So I was like, I think that looks like something that would go with that.
It is a Zaku unit painted red, and it has giant like rockets on its back, like rockets bigger than the unit itself. It's the most insane looking thing. It's so freaking awesome. All right, well, that's my game corner. It's time to go into the interview now.
Okay. Very cool. Well, no, it's not time to go into the universe. So that was Ryan's game corner. Now we're going to talk about November really quick. So we're going to do our November recap. And instead of doing so, in the past, we've kind of gone through every single bracket and broken down every bracket, and we don't really have to do that. If you want to see it, everyone that's listening has probably seen it and knows who won and all of that kind of stuff. So I wanted to mix it up this time. Instead, I have 4 questions that each of us can pick a question and answer, or if you want to talk about something else from November, that's perfectly fine. So either a fight that stuck with you, a moment that made you cheer, a breakout bot or a surprise result, or a performance that raised eyebrows or changed the game. So to give an example of this, I think I'm going to go first, and I'm going to choose a performance that raised eyebrows or changed the game. And I think I'm going to choose Julian and Mako, and I'm trying to remember what the other bot was that used it, but the cheese blocks.
Friendo.
The cheese... Yeah, Friendo, yeah. Well, no, the other bot that used it against Usagi. It wasn't Friendo. It was trying to think what fight that was. But the cheese blocks. The cheese blocks are now something that was brought to the November NHRL, and anybody that wasn't able to see it. It's a big hollowish block of TPU that's whole design is to protect against overhead hits, to catch whatever spinner is hitting from overhead. And the controversy behind it is, does this count as entanglement? Does it count as not entanglement? Like, how is that going to be seen in the future? But for now, it showed that it has some merit in the Usagi fight because it was able to take Usagi's weapon and kind of jam it up a little bit, and they had to tear them apart. They had to stop the fight and tear them apart. So I feel like that's a game changer for the overhead meta that we've seen, because there's a lot of overhead bots, and coming up with something like that that's really cool protection against overheads is really unique. So
the thing is, like, how exactly are you going to police that? Is like Sam gonna come to your house and watch you print your overhead armor and be like, that's entanglement right there. You gotta make it denser, please.
Yeah, like, just say this: if people think that's controversial, I'd like to tell them about bike racks in professional fighting robotics, because that was a time. Man. Ooh.
Yes. That was Huge versus Hydra, right? That's the one you're talking about? Yeah.
We had at one point a bike rack-like thing. Actually, JMO used something similar at one point. JMO made a sort of bike rack. The one that showed up at BattleBots that he used against Huge, he tested out beforehand at the NHRL to see if it would work.
Megatron.
On Megatron, yeah. I'm trying to think. I was planning on talking about the cheese blocks, but Drift was a really awesome bot. I thought Drift was a great bot. It was very interesting, the use of like the shuffler mechanisms.
Yep.
To make it go. Yeah, it was really freaking cool.
It wasn't a shuffler though.
No, it wasn't a shuffler.
It counted as a walker, which gave it extra weight. Yeah. So it wasn't a shuffler mechanism. It was a modified. I don't want to call it a shuffler because it wasn't technically a shuffler. It was ruled as enough of a walking mechanism to get the walking bonus.
2 independent axes.
Yes. Yep. There you go. Thomas with our technical talk. That was cool. I was disappointed his first go around that it kind of exploded on itself, but it was a cool bot.
Second go around.
I don't know.
I wasn't even.
Oh, go ahead, Richard.
I was going to say, I wasn't even aware of what the weight bonus for a 30-pound walker bot was, because you don't see it. And then when I found out that it was double, I was like, God, that's overkill. That is so much bot, man.
The first time that they walked up with it and had to put it on my scale next to me at the pit desk, I was like, this thing is gigantic. It was too big. I had to like lean over to read the scale underneath it. It was nuts.
Yeah, that was so
Ryan,
bot.
there's a trick. Just unscrew the actual weight thing and stick it on your table.
See, that would be a nice thing to actually know beforehand.
I don't know. The fight that got, like, I was watching, I'm like, did that just happen? Was the T-Cat versus Dragon Fruit, what was it, like,
yes.
1.5 second KO? Like, I don't think it was ever a fight faster.
Yeah.
Like, that was just
nuts.
Absolutely insane.
Yes. For anyone that did not see that, Dragon Fruit toddled across the cage and immediately exploded. And T-Cat didn't have to move at all. So
he didn't even get out of the pink square. He was still there.
Yeah. I don't think I saw T-Cat move, because the 2 fights that I saw, they didn't really move much. It was that one and the other one. So I wasn't sure how well they actually moved, because it was just a 30-pound loopy bot. Like, it was that style of robot. So and that has an interesting movement mechanism with the fact that it uses the spin up and spin down of the weapons to do the movement. So I don't know, it's interesting. Richard, what stuck with you from November? Do you have a fight that you remember, or a bot that did really well?
Well, I mean, everybody's going to talk about Clyde, right? And how well they did up until the point that they were the victim of their own success with that flame. I love when a bot comes into a tournament and you wonder how this is going to work, it's either going to be a huge success or a miserable failure. And they were, I think, kind of teetering on both there eventually. Yeah. But for the fights that we got to see and just what they were able to do, that was great. But really, I think for me, Liftoff was a huge success, so impressive to watch. In fact, I talked with their team after that decision against them in primetime, and I can't help but agree with them. A bot like that can't score much on the control side of things, because I was honestly, up in the pits we miss a lot because we're trying to talk, while fights are going on behind us. And I remember kind of making a point to watch that fight and to see the judges, as close as it was, yes, but to go against Liftoff, it didn't sit well with me. They kind of felt, similar, but again, I don't envy the judges' position ever. And so I think that is one hell of a bot. I mean, for what it is, and what it does, and just beautifully put together, and watching it go out there is like art in the cage.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons that Jim has not brought it as much in this previous year and year before, because I think the last time we really saw it be a force to be reckoned with is maybe 2023. Like, I mean, it got pretty far, but the rise in control points, meaning more, has just made it so that Melty Brains don't get as many points if they can't get that knockout or that tap out, because to even a observer that knows, like the judges that knows what they're looking for, Melty Brains don't look in control. They don't, and it's really hard to tell. When a Melty Brain is on the attack and is giving that aggression versus just ping-ponging and not actually having the control that it needs to have. So it's an interesting struggle for the judges, to be sure. Yeah. Thomas, we haven't heard from you yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking about all these crazy fights. I've just been looking back in the NHRL channel about November. Everyone's talking about their like the 5 streaks and 4 streaks. This is the first time that Drew Davis has not qualified for the championship. He 2020 through 24, he qualified. This year he did not make it. So everyone is currently pouring one out for Drew.
He was in good spirits about it, though. Still, like when I talked to him up in the pits, like he knows. Like, I mean, obviously you want to be in company that's considered elite in this sport, and there's no more elite company you can be in than with JMO and things like that. So I get his disappointment, but he was like, sometimes it's just how the fights work out, and he was still really cool about it and everything. He didn't think it was, there wasn't like a judge to blame or anything like that. No, he was just, he took it and he'll move on to the next.
I actually really love that Kazal Light has come to the past 2 events. They have been able to use their main weapon that they were designed to use was a flamethrower, and still they are either in the final match or like right up into the semifinals. And that's crazy that you're able to, like, at the last second go, okay, this is my change in my weapon. And I think it was this time, it was like, it looked like a crazy little hammer thing. Still, like, crazy control, crazy, like, well designed. They never die. It's awesome. It's so good. Oh, and also that reminds me, Termigator was looking so good. It was looking so good. Every time I looked at that bot, that big, wide, like Manta, noisy boy looking robot, I love that thing.
It's very fun to watch.
It looks so dangerous. It looks so dangerous. Like, I love it. It's so cool. I want Noisy Boy back. I want somebody to bring, the original creator to bring Noisy Boy back, but I also want people to start designing beetle weight shaped like that again.
Yeah.
But either way.
Yeah, I have a request for a builder to take one of those like Nerf football whistles and just put it inside your weapon. So as it spins, it just has like a death screech.
You could print a I think it's called a Mayan death whistle.
There was a bot that did that. What was it? Was it last year? They came, I think, to one event last year, and it was literally called like death whistle or death something, and that was what they did. Is they put that noise into the or on the weapon or whatever. I remember that. I don't think you really were able. Yeah. So my only question before, and Richard touched on this a little bit before we go. Well, I wanted to mention Sir Slicey making it all the way and winning. That was amazing. Especially seeing, we always love to see younger builders win their titles and stuff like that. So very cool. Congratulations, Sir Slicey. But my question, and like I said, Richard, you touched on a little bit, is do we think that the fire meta is going to be interrupted a little bit by people seeing that all you need is a reverse shovel scoop to send fire back the same way that it came? That works?
I don't know for sure, and of course, this is the part of Ricky's job that I would never want, because he's part of that whole world. He sees all the comments, all the feedback, and they have to have these meetings. And I don't know what all gets discussed or how they move forward with everything, but it's a headache just thinking about it. And what's funny is, you talk about that, and I believe that there's like a golden age for kind of everything. You look at Uber and Airbnb, and at first when they came out, they were just like, yeah, you don't have to wait for a taxi. Just a stranger will come pick you up, or you don't have to stay at a hotel and worry about room service. You can just stay at a stranger's house. But then as more and more people did that, you got these upcharges and surcharges from Uber for if they were going to pick you up from an event or from at like 2 a.m. or whatever. And so you're paying like 3 times as much as a cab. And the same thing with Airbnb. There's Superhosts and there's all this stuff. So there was a time where it was like the perfect solution and everybody was having a great time. But now it's had to be like, oh, reality is set in. And so we're back to, this is why we couldn't do this before. And we have to make all these adjustments. So I think you'll see something like that. But right now it is kind of a golden age for flamethrowers, because if there is just one solution, you kind of have to account for that as far as how many configurations you bring, or how quickly can you change out things, how many bots you bring and all that. So I think we'll see that. But then, on the other side, flamethrowers are going to adjust and figure it out. So right now we're just kind of enjoying the time that is a bot like Clyde going out there and kicking ass.
Yeah.
See, as soon as somebody makes a cam lifter that has the flamethrower built into the cam lifter arms, so it can just lift you and then roast you from underneath, that's going to be a day that everyone regretted using those reverse plows.
So
you made it so easy for the longest time. Now it's like, okay, yeah, here's a barbecued robot.
So Kokoto, if you're listening, you need to take juxtaposition and kill it with fire and combine them so that they ramp up onto your bot, and then you flame them from underneath.
Someone's going to do it, and then it's going to be like, what are you going to do? You're going to put a plow underneath your robot? No.
Kokoto just pulled out his notebook and he's like furiously scribbling.
Or Kokoto makes a serial killer, except it's a giant metal dome. It just heats up inside.
Yeah.
Robot oven.
Yep. Okay. So that was November. So November was the last qualifying event, and then we have the championships in December. I'm not going to list off the bots that are in. You can go to NHRL Wiki, and there's a whole list of all the bots that qualified. We are going to be doing the draft for the championships, which is going to work a little differently for a fantasy league for anyone that's on our Discord and does that. I'm still tweaking the rules, the final rules for that, but it's going to be interesting to see who wins in the end. Since we had a major upset this last event, and Aiden overtook Dan for top spot, so that was cool. So we are now going to move over to our signature segment where we each of us asks a question to our guests to get to know them better. So it is time for 5 in Focus. So I have a couple of questions. I have one from Ashley, though she's not here. And of course, Thomas, you have your super secret question that you never tell me beforehand.
I don't even tell myself beforehand.
I know. So Richard, we each have a question for you. And I believe, Ryan, I have you going up first, since yours is the premium question, like that base question.
Mine is the most essential question, I believe. Richard, what's your origin story before you became part of NHRL? I have a feeling that you have a life kind of like Ricky, that you have a lot of stories that you can tell.
And is it a hero origin story or a villain origin story?
Oh, it's probably a villain one, and a lot of symbols. But it is a lengthy one. I'll shorten it as best I can for you guys. But I mean, the reality is that, you know, I had been in bands for a long time and then got out of a band. We kind of broke up a little bit
Richard
for
crashed.
some differences.
Oh, no, I was about to
not creatively,
tell us.
but just
He
like,
was
can you not
censored. He was
drink
got
it?
It was too secret.
Because there's guys from labels scouting us, and we
Oh, no,
do
it
not
was
play
too secret.
like a sloppy asshole.
Oh, no.
Sorry, I don't know if I can say that on here, but
He's gonna come back and say, "Yeah, and that's how I became the."
oh man,
It's like the Forrest Gump part when he's on stage in DC.
I apologize. Okay,
Okay.
No, you're
All right.
good.
I'm
You can start
plugged
over
in
from the beginning.
Ethernet. I'm plugged in an Ethernet, but apparently my knee hit it. So okay.
It's all good.
Okay. You can start from the top. You're good. I have
You
editing
literally were about to like dive into actually telling us, and then it just cut.
Okay, perfect.
We were all joking that it was just too spicy for our podcast and just something cut it off.
So yeah, it is a lengthier story. I'll condense it down as best I can. But you know, I had grown up. I was in band and then in bands, and so when we broke up for differences, not necessarily creative, but more of like, hey, dude, can you not drink at this show? We've got record label scouts coming to check us out, and we need you to not play like a sloppy douchebag. So. We broke up, and then I don't know. I've always loved sports, so decided to. A friend suggested starting a podcast, and I did that for a little bit, and that's how I created the fan show. And the craziest thing about how I got into the world of combat robotics is literally one of the most random occurrences. So we would record, me and the co-host I had at the time, in a spare bedroom of my house that we were renting, and we always had the TV on in the back, just. You know, in case something popped up, we could talk about it because we always had it up on like ESPN or something. So there was a commercial for BattleBots on ABC, and I used to watch it on Comedy Central. And so I'm like, whoa, hold up. Like, are you seeing this? Like, is that? And he's like, yeah, BattleBots. Like, that was that thing on Comedy Central, right? Like with the robots and stuff. And I said, yeah. I was like, did you watch that? He's like, yeah, I always watch that. And so we talked BattleBots for 20 minutes. When we posted the episode, on Twitter, I went and looked through to see if they had like an active Twitter account. I tagged them and then hashtagged and just let it be. And then probably a few days later, their head referee, John Remar, messaged me. And he's like, hey, man, loved your guys' conversation about BattleBots. We don't have anybody talking about this right now. So would you like to have exclusive access to our builders and crew and production team and cast to do interviews like that? Well, you know, when the season premieres. And I said, dude, say less. Like, let's go. Okay. So my first one was Zoe with one of the biggest walker bots in history. That was fun. And then I got to know Ray Billings that way. And then, of course, had, you know, John on, and then Farouk and Chris and Kenny as the years went on. But I went down there for 2 tapings in Long Beach after that, one for just a couple of days, but one for like the whole week that they did like the tournament, which normally is not media accessible, but they made an exception for me. And it was a great time. Like me and Matt Spurk of Kraken have been in the same fantasy league together for 5 years now, and he's a really good friend of mine. And then Craig Danby, and I keep having what I call reunions with all these people from the BattleBots world at these different NHRL events. And so how I got into NHRL is because everybody that I met down there thought that I should be a part of that. And because one of the higher ups works for Fox, he was able to get people like Jenny Taft and so forth. So obviously I didn't have the resume to compete with that. So they were just like, she's good, but she doesn't get it. Like, you get it. You want to know. You want to learn. You want to build a bot probably eventually. But she's trying. She's a professional. But you have taken like a genuine interest in the sport and in us as teams. Like, I didn't know I was Leanne Cushing's first interview as captain of Valkyrie. I had no idea. And so she messaged me several months later when it was clear that BattleBots wasn't going to pull the trigger to bring me on board, even after doing 2 seasons of Red Square, Blue Square, which I thought was great. And she's like, you should really check into Norwalk Havoc Robot League. And I said, okay. So she put me in touch with the higher ups there. And then that just sort of went, stagnant, and nothing happened from it. And so then I would get messages from Ricky saying, hey, I'm a big part of NHRL now. I was told that we were trying to maybe bring you in for something. Let's revisit that. And then that took some time and some doing. And then Colby finally said, hey, let's bring you out for an event. and then did that. And by then I had graduated with my bachelor's in sportscasting, and I had my own brand built. And then there's builders in the pits every event that recognize me from, this version of the logo and red square, blue square, and all that stuff. So it's been a journey for sure. But I'm more than happy to be there. I've always loved the combat robotics community, even if they don't love me back, because I get it. I come very much from the sports aspect and side of the world. And for some people, they want this to be sport, but not sport. And so there's like there's a line there, but it moves constantly. And that's sort of where I fit into the fold as I bring the sports side to it.
So that is a conversation that happens behind the scenes a lot. And I will tell you that a large majority of the builders want this to be a sport. So appreciating someone who sees it as a sport and wants it to be a sport and wants to treat it as a sport, you will get way more fans than you will get haters wanting it to be that way. I will tell you that much.
Even the people that really love the silliness of it still want it to be a sport, I feel like, at the end of the day. And I feel like we've had the conversation hundreds of times of like, right now, like, combat robotics has always been at this like edge of, is it like a fun hobby? Is it like a silly thing that you do? Or is this like a serious thing that you put money and you put time and you get an expertise in and you treat it like a real sport? Because like it's one thing to like treat this as like a silly thing that like, oh, we're playing with our toys every once in a while. And then you go to other people that are like, oh, I spent like $30,000 this year on it. Every single day of my life, like I spend at least 2 hours doing something of it. I have like a stable of like 8 robots. Like there's a wide spectrum, but at the end of the day, everybody that like puts in that time and effort wants to be respected for that time and effort. And I think I think the first conversation I've ever had with you, Richard, was like, I really appreciate that you came into this, and of like everything that I've watched you do is like I think you get it, and I think you understand that, and you actually come at it like that, and I appreciate. I'm a fan of how you do it.
Yeah. So the one thing that we need to take it that one step further to make it a sport is like that specialization, and we're starting to see that.
Yeah,
we have people that are literally driving. That's what they do, and they bounce around to different bots and actually drive things, getting that good. Like when we start to see that specialization, where you have the drivers that can do different bots, the engineering and stuff like that, that's when you can start to see that aspect of it moving towards that sport aspect of it, where you're going to hire people to do that task for your team.
And that's also where we see all the conversations of the Pro League come from, is all those people that spend all that money and they do it all the time and they put all those hours into it, having some place that they can go against other people that do that as well, because we do have that other side of the NHRL community that bring really silly things and want to try really silly things, and
which is good. I'm not against it. I love the silly bots. I love the pure creativity,
that's the two sides. The two sides of these events. And the NHRL has always been, bring your stuff and try your crazy things, and it's really cool. And there's some people that just want to do that, and there's some people that are aiming at like win, and that's it. That's what I want. I want a dumpster. So it's just an interesting two sides of the same coin. So
yeah, a lot of the people at BattleBots, when I would talk to them in the off season, it was always the production side that they had the biggest problem with. They were just like, they're trying too hard to make this a TV show and create heroes and actual villains. And for some, like Jake, I have a Waiachi hat somewhere in here, and I was going to wear that for this. But Jake, who some people hate probably more than love him, but he's always shot me straight. He's always been brutally honest, and he's like, I love being the villain, dude. Like, if that's how they want to paint me, I'll do it. And I know Ray Billings kind of relished in that too, but JMO never wanted to be the villain, and they tried hard to make him one.
They did.
He was just not having it. So they hated that aspect of it. They hated some of the favoritism that you saw, and they understood that at the end of the day, it's a TV show that wants a good product, but that's the difference between them and NHRL, where this is sport, and that's how you get what you see is because it is more sport and not so much production and show.
Yeah.
And very happy to hear it say that.
Yeah. I love when we've met Ray Billings, because Ray Billings has come out a few times. The funniest thing is how nice and sweet of a dude he is. He's like the best dude. And it's like, how did they make you like a villain at all? But it's like
they took these clips and honestly, they took these clips of him enjoying what he was doing, and they twisted that with their own words to make it seem like he was enjoying the other bot failing instead of just enjoying driving the robot. And that's kind of how they tweaked him into a villain, and that's how they tweaked Jake into a villain as well. They and he enjoyed it. He was like, okay, that's how they wanted to paint me, but that's how they did the same thing. Is just Jake enjoyed building these robots, and his entire family enjoyed doing what they were doing, and they painted him as a villain because they showed the joy in his face, and they twisted that into him enjoying everyone failing, and that's not how this community is. And unfortunately, people that don't know the community don't know that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't think NHRL has a villain at the moment, and I don't know who would be the villain.
I really hope they don't try any of that.
There you go. Jake Maximizer. That's the villain.
Yeah. But he's too happy. He smiles too much. He's a horrible villain. It would never work.
Tony,
Julian
your
could be a
question's
villain
next.
easily. Like Julian could have made Phil. I think he could fall into that easily.
Yeah.
All right, Richard. What has been your favorite fight so far to commentate at NHRL?
Oh man, I'm not going to be able to remember the specific bots, but I know because when you go through a program like sportscasting, like I did with Full Sail, we kept creating and adding to our highlight reels that we would send off to news stations and teams and whatnot. And so I instantly get into that mode of like, what could I add to that? And when we were at the desk and we had a camera on us, whether we were on camera or not, you can go and see those angles. And so I would get, from the first two events, I wanted to get my best reactions to bots because I was just like, God, if somebody's watching me, they're going to be like this dude because I'm very animated. And so there was one where there was a cage rush and they flipped each other into the air, and then they just kept popping each other back and forth, just big hits after big hits. And those are my favorite type of fights, is when they're 3 minutes or even less of just nonstop, just hit after hit after hit. And it's just like whoever a bot breaks first is the one that loses. And so those have been my favorite ones to be on the mic for. Absolutely.
Yep.
Totally agree with that.
Thomas, I threw you here in the middle, so whatever your super secret question is.
Boxer briefs.
He's done.
Honestly, Richard, yes, that's the type of question that he asked.
We're gonna get.
No, it's a relatively normal question this week. So we all see like the henchmen, especially Sam. They put him on in the shorts and the videos. And they make him look absolutely insane. I don't know what they do, but like he's a different person. And we all see him on event day where he's doing 12 different things. But how is the Sam when he's not on event day? And the other henchmen as well, such as Colin.
So Sam was somebody that I wasn't sure of myself when I first met him, because I had seen some of the shorts and the clips, and then he's labeled as the henchman and whatnot, and the energy that he brings in primetime when he comes out of Gladiator and all that. But I remember saying, you look like a cross between Weird Al Yankovic and the guy who's the evil boss in the original Mystery Science Theater 3000. And I had to show him a picture because he didn't know what I was talking about. And he's like, dude, that might be closer than the Weird Al comparison. I said, I know. So I'll send him. I sent him a picture one time when I was watching. There's a MST3K channel actually here, and so I sent him a picture. I was like, "Hey, you're on my TV again," and and he didn't respond. But he's very calm and collected. I think he's kind of like microprocessing, in his mind, because he does. Yeah, he does wear about a dozen hats. and he's running around probably just as many directions, if not more. So I think the Sam that we see on TV in prime time is the regular Sam cranked up to about 11, but he's not like back there doing practical jokes or pranks or anything. He's making sure that everything is running as smoothly as possible. I think he takes a lot of pride in his work and in the work that is NHRL. So he's always welcoming feedback or ideas for his cold opens and whatnot. I've given him a few myself. I think there's a moment where, he gets the ideas and then they start bouncing him around, and then all of a sudden he's been somehow pushed out of the conversation where he just kind of sits there like, okay, my fate's being decided and I'm going to have to do whatever it is that they tell me to do. And that's just how it is. And I get it, because I've been in those positions before too.
The cold open discussions before they get filmed are kind of insane. I'm not gonna say any examples. But they're wilder than Sam's persona.
Yeah.
Richard, now I'm just sad that I didn't put Tom Servo into the game. You would have gotten Tom Servo. I thought that was going to be too hard.
Before I realized that we were going to be, the day before was Halloween, I had a whole costume planned out where all I needed was, a jumpsuit, overalls, and I was going to put Gizmonic, on there. And then I was going to have cardboard cutouts where on the front you see the Tom Servo and Crow, but on the back it's just black, like they're sitting in the theater. And
I love that.
We were going to go out to a movie on Halloween, and I was going to wear that. But pesky job responsibilities.
Just Cuz Robotics brings you the latest and greatest in beetle-weight drive motor technology, the Blitz Light, mini-size for mighty drive. At under 45 grams, these are the lightest and smallest 6mm shaft drive motors on the market. Our Blitz Light gear motor includes a fully custom 20mm all-steel gearbox mated to a customized 1604 brushless motor in either 2850 or 3800 kV options. The 29-to-1 gearbox has a super durable chromoly steel 6mm output shaft and M3 threaded face mounting. The Blitz Light can deliver the same peak torque as our awesome Dartbox Dragon brushed motors, but are 37% shorter and 25% lighter weight from brushless power. Make your bot a bit lighter with the Blitz Light, available today at justcuzrobotics.com. That's just C-U-Z robotics.com.
Hey there, bot fans! Are you ready to take your love for the Havoc Rundown to the next level? We've got a ton of ways for you to join the action and support the podcast you love. First, connect with us and fellow robot combat enthusiasts by joining our Discord. It's the perfect place to talk shop, share your favorite bot moments, and stay updated with the latest news and events. Make sure to follow us on Facebook to stay in the loop with episode updates, behind-the-scenes content, and community highlights. It's all happening right there. And if you want to show off your Havoc Rundown pride, check out our merch store on Bonfire. Right now, we've got the official Havoc Rundown logo tee waiting for you. Head to bonfire.com/Havoc-Rundown-T to grab yours today. But wait, there's more. You can also support us directly through our Buy Me a Coffee page at buymeacoffee.com/Havoc Rundown. Every contribution helps to keep the sparks flying and bring you more amazing content. And for the ultimate fans, don't miss our Patreon at patreon.com/Havoc Rundown. As a patron, you'll get exclusive access to bonus content like our Fantasy League drafts, D&D games, special interviews, and other exciting surprises. So what are you waiting for? Join the community, show your support, and keep the gears turning at the Havoc Rundown. We'll see you in the arena. Okay, very cool. So Ashley's question is next, and then I usually always go last, but Ashley's question is, if you could pick an animal to theme a robot after, what animal would it be?
Oh, this one's easy, because being in Montana and wanting to see desperately the first bot built and fighting out of the state of Montana. Some of you will understand this movie reference, but I want the bot, the Great White Buffalo. So I want to see that thing. I have a design in my head. I know how I could put it out on paper. Beyond that, nothing. But this bot in my mind looks awesome. Yes, 30-pound, go big or go home. And so the Great White Buffalo is definitely a bot that I want to see come to life.
Hey, you have a whole community that if you brought that up in like the NHRL Discord or even our Discord, you would have a whole bunch of people trying to help you make that a reality.
There are plenty of people that will actually like do a full CAD for you and everything like that. That's definitely a service you could take advantage of. Are you picturing a lifter? Because that sounds like a lifter to me.
So originally I wanted to design the fan bot, for the show and take it to battle bots and have it do a fight or whatever and get completely destroyed, like how they would do Shark Oprion, the sacrificial bot. But what I want for this one is, so I am pro track, so I should probably be on Team Honeycracked. Pro track, so I want a track bot just like a tank, but the back is larger than the front, and so it's angled, and you've got this, wedge, and on the sides are two, what would be the bison horns.
Yep.
But they feed up to a top spinner that's angled down, so a full blade that spins around the top. I don't know what's protecting the back, haven't thought that far, but this thing is just going to go hard and go after you and try to destroy you as quickly as possible, just like a stampeding Great White Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, we love our glass cannons, so...
You need to get on Discord, because I can almost be willing to bet within a week after this episode comes out, somebody will have designed it.
But it's got to be white on white on white. And I think for the back, I actually pictured some sort of like fox fur, like it's back there, which if it goes up against Clyde is going to get caught on fire. But I think coming out would look so cool, just to be in the cage for however long it lasts. But yeah, that's my dream bot for representing the state of Montana.
Okay, very cool.
I love it.
I was going to build a bot called Hunter, and it's going to extinct the buffalo.
Literally just a direct answer to the buffalo.
Great.
I'm trying to think what something domain. What's the word for that when
Eminent domain?
Eminent domain. Is it eminent domain when they took over? Is that what I'm thinking about?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, dumb joke. So my question is, as someone who lives in both pit and broadcast booth, what do you think the camera misses that you see every event?
Well, for commentary, it's for sure our reactions. I mean, I think if there could be a picture-in-picture where it's the reactions of the people calling the fights, I think that would be fantastic. But then again, you're flirting with that Ready Player One joke where he's like, you can occupy 70% of the screen before inducing seizures. Like, you just don't want that from your product, right? So, and Facebook's get ridiculous. Like, it's more and more. And I'm like, are they taking note from that? Because that was a joke. You're not supposed to do that. But I think they miss reactions. And the pits, they pretty much get everything because I'm in constant communication with the control room downstairs, and I'm telling them that this is happening or this is happening because I made the joke this last event when somebody asked me what it was like to be the pit reporter. I said, it's a lot of improv. It's entirely improv because I'll come up here with like 7 ideas, and one of which I may be able to use at some point. But that drill that they do in sports where you go run back and forth, but you get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. That's how it is for me up in the pits all prime time, is I'm doing that basically until it gets down to the finals and we're done. So they get a lot of it. The Skycam has been phenomenal. I don't know how things functioned before that, because that was a time before my time. My first event was the introduction of the Skycam. So to be able to hover and see what they're doing at their station is, I mean, that's like so pro league, it's not even funny as far as the production value. So I think they catch a lot, but there's a few times where they'll miss, I won't say who, but somebody after a fight this last event, them and their co-driver came up, and the co-driver kind of tossed the remote onto the thing after the result of the fight, and he's just like, don't ever try to outdrive me, in more or less words. And and I was like, okay. And you miss that, but it's at the same time, it's the community has this belief, and for I'd say 90% of the time it's absolutely true, that everybody is good sportsmen and everybody likes everybody, and there's very few enemies or even rivals. But if you get moments like that, be it they are absolutely genuine, juicy, and I love them as a sports guy, I don't know what that does to the rest of the community if they see that from somebody they maybe weren't expecting. So I think it catches exactly what it needs to.
I definitely understand that. There's also the other side of that where, one of the biggest examples is the whole JMO thing last year. Or was it last year or was it earlier this year where he was able to go back upstairs and grab a whole other copy of Megatron?
Yeah, this year,
that was this year.
So that was a whole, like, the whole community being nice, but then there's a whole other side of the community or people that don't compete looking at that going, why is that fair? And it's, well, because his opponent was like perfectly fine with it because they want to have a good fight. Like there's not a lot of people in this sport, and like we can all probably think of someone or groups of people that fit outside of that mold, but for the majority of the community, it's all for one. It's all like wanting the same kind of goal and stuff.
Well, and for that example, like, yeah, that was a huge part of it, and probably the best result that you could have gotten is his opponent being like, no, I want this fight, like, go get it. If he can get it, go get it. But you also have to remember that was the event that would later be aired on a certain platform, and you want to give them your best possible product. So, that is the ugly truth of it, is sometimes, corners are slightly cut or rules are bent a little, but I mean, what do you do? So that's, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, and to answer your earlier question, before primetime and before the overhead camera, it was Chris or Luke or whoever was upstairs doing the reporting, coming at us going, where does this person sit? Where does this person sit? Where does this person sit? And then having to track them down and run over to their table and go. So if you think running back and forth in that space is bad, Chris and Luke used to have to go like that corner of the room and then that corner of the room and then that corner of the room.
Before the map was as good as it is.
Yeah, that was before we even had like a map system in place. So, yeah, it was a headache. Okay, cool. So that was the 5 in focus. We have a huge listener mailbag this week.
Yeah, we have
so
like
we are
1,500 questions. Y'all guys went crazy.
We're going to move over to our listener mailbag.
You've reached the voicemail of
The Havoc Rundown.
Please leave your message after the tone.
So this is, if you are not on our Discord and you're listening, you can hop on our Discord. We have a mailbag section, and every time we're going to have a guest on, we ask our listeners and our Discord members to ask any kind of question they want to ask of them. So we have 14 this week, which I think breaks the record for the most we've had. So you guys went crazy wanting to ask questions of Richard. So we are going to start out with Matthew, who drives the bot Kilico. He was at this last event. Got to meet you. Matthew, you're awesome. He said, if you were forced to give up one food between dinosaur chicken nuggets and SpongeBob mac and cheese, what would it be?
Oh, man. So I'm going to have to go with giving up SpongeBob mac and cheese, but that's probably changed over the last several years because I try to avoid gluten, and I know that there's gluten-free macaroni and cheese, but not in the SpongeBob form. But we have gluten-free dino nugs that we get on the regular here at home, and we always have those in the freezer, and those are my go-to. Like if I just had a crazy long day and just want something that's going to be comfortable and healthy and not make me miserable, the gluten-free dino nugs, way to go every time.
Nice. He also asked a robot question. He says, what features in a robot, either aesthetic or functional, make a robot fun, easy, or difficult to commentate on?
The ones that are difficult are always the ones like that's a lot of TPU and the hook 'em and even, well, Jelly Baby Paige and Jelly Baby have made it a little more entertaining because she's a phenomenal driver, and I'm not knocking any of those other teams that I named, but I'm just saying that when there's not sparks flying or big hits happening, you have to really dig for your enthusiasm and excitement, because the viewer back home is kind of following your lead at a certain point. Like, if you ever watch pro wrestling, those commentators could make it sound like a guy who tripped over an entryway rug is the most god awful, just like, oh, his leg just broke in half, by God almighty. Like, they sell this thing to you in a way that if you're just listening alone, you're like, oh wow, that must have been crazy. So for us to have to kind of manifest that and make it happen for some of these fights where there's not a primary weapon and there's a lot of pushing and shoving going, that's difficult. Aesthetically, though, I love when bots have parts that look like they were specifically designed for that, all the way down to the paint job. And, if there's a theme to the bot, you see that clearly in the bot. I mean, those are beautiful. And there's a few builders that do that really well up in the pits and that have weapons and everything. A lot of the folks on Pandemonium have done that really well. And so that's really good. And then, of course, if you have either an overhead saw or a drum spinner, those are both really fun to watch. I haven't seen like a really good flipper bot in there, because Hydra, man, that was a fun bot to watch. So I'd love to see more of that. But yeah, there's bots that are definitely easier and more difficult to commentate on. But I'd say the weapon is the key thing, because in 3 minutes, you want those memorable moments in the form of like, oh, his weapon or half of him just flew across, the cage, like we saw with Takati and Dragon Fruit. Like, those are the things that you want.
Yeah.
We keep wanting a flipper. We haven't gotten one yet.
Yeah. So
well,
interesting.
No, we had Pretty Fly. I never got to watch any of its fights, but we had Pretty Fly. The problem really with flippers is it's harder. The smaller the footprint and the smaller sizes, it's so hard to do a mechanism in that size.
Yeah. So interesting fact, Richard. We interviewed Paige, and the only time she drives that bot is at NHRL. She doesn't practice outside of NHRL.
Wow.
Yeah, we were like, you are lying to us, and she was like, no, I'm not. The only time I ever drive this bot is NHRL. And we're like, that is insanity. So she is just a naturally good driver of that robot. So the eternally weird Tom Farkas asks, what's one of the most surprising things people don't know about working at NHRL?
Oh, I don't know if I've been there long enough to be well versed in what this could be. I don't know. I mean, we have a full day blocked out for production the day before, which is basically for someone like me, I'm checking up in the pits constantly to see who's gotten there that I can talk to, because if you wait till everybody's there, it's chaos. But if you go up there periodically when there's 3 teams and then 10 teams, and you can kind of get more and more in-depth conversations and spend a little bit more one-on-one time. It's impossible to meet with every team, and if somebody says that they have, they're a liar, because there's just no way. There's not enough time. There's not. I think a lot of what you hear from us is either the highlights of those conversations that we had from the teams that we did talk to in production the day before or morning of, or we're recalling things from conversations had before. Because, if I don't come and visit you, twice, 2 events in a row, it's not that I'm not interested in you anymore. It's just that I have what I believe is the stuff that I'll need for the next day. If there's anything important that you need to tell me, by all means, let me know. But I will go and try to get to know some of the newer faces of people that I haven't seen before. So there's a lot that goes into the broadcast. And so that may be something that they don't realize. I mean, it is very much a professional production. And so that's absolutely one of the ways that makes it the well-oiled machine that it appears to be, anyway, for the most part, on event day. But also, we have our own bathroom in the break room. That's really about it.
There is a secret bathroom upstairs, and I do not want anyone to know where it is, because it makes me happy that it is a secret bathroom, and that is it.
So So Corey from Team Pandemonium, said this is 30, says, not a question, Richard, but can you please bring back red square, blue square?
That was so much fun, and that was, it's such a strange thing because the person that called me is the person that had the power to bring on a talent like Jenny Taft. And the whole conversation, it was during the pandemic. I had to get a Joe job, so I was delivering Ford parts to mom and pop shops all over. We were living in Sioux Falls, South Dakota at the time, so I would go and get into one of those transit vans, load up with all these vehicle parts, and then drive them around to Iowa and Minnesota and come back around. And it was great to be able to just kind of leave and let your mind free up, because that was such a mess of a situation, not only for us moving, that way and then being let go 6 months later. So it was a great job to have just for that. But I was also able to have a lot of conversations on the road while I had service. And one of them was a phone call from him. And he's like, hey, you watch The Walking Dead, right? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And he's like, you know Talking Dead? I was like, I'm not a huge Chris Hardwick fan, but yeah, I know The Talking Dead. He's like, we want something like that for BattleBots, but the studio, Discovery won't pull the trigger until they've seen it. And I said, okay, what are you asking me? He's like, I want you to do it. I want you to make a reaction show. That way we have something to pitch, and then boom, you're in. And so I came up with red square, blue square. I wanted something simple that you knew exactly what it was, in the red square and the blue square. And we would just, I would coordinate with them and hope that they could recall everything like that it had literally just happened, even though we're talking that the airing was up to several months after the fact. But I had some great conversations. We had a lot of laughs. I tried to keep it light and fun. And yeah, a lot of people know me from that and recognize me. And I would love to do something like that again. If there's an audience for it, absolutely.
Very cool. Nick from Crafty Cat Combat says, who's had more injuries this year, robots at NHRL or the 49ers?
49ers, hands down. What are you talking about? like that is ridiculous, the amount of injuries. I don't know how CMC isn't in the MVP talk because of what he's been able to do with pretty much Band-Aids and guys off the street. Because 6-3, that's pretty impressive. So, for guys that you're just like, who is that? I don't know. It'd be somebody different next week. So it's
yeah, I don't need to learn their names.
No. It's that generic, just picture of like the silhouette of the head and shoulders that they have on Madden when there's a rookie that comes up that they make up when you get that far into your franchise. So it's just those that you see now for the 49ers starting raw.
Well, whenever I think of any kind of football names or player names, I cannot not think of the Key and Peele sketches with the
some
awesome
of my favorites.
players.
Yep. Hingle McCringleberry. Yep. No Sean, Megatron, no Sean. Like, yes.
Yeah, so good. So Gwen from Jackalope says, what's the special sauce that you think you personally bring to the NHRL commentary team?
I'd like to think my personality, I was told apparently with the red mohawk that I'm more approachable with that look, even in the suit.
Really?
So that was surprising to me. But me and my wife, we have different fits for every occasion, as we call it. There's different flavors of the Tiemans. And so we have stuff for like when we go to a music festival or a sporting event or stuff like that. Like we have the gear and the way to look. So I'd like to think that my personality shines through above the rest as far as somebody that is portrayed as I'm genuinely interested in this. I want to be there and I want to give you guys the best show possible. But I think what I bring as far as looking from a professional aspect and just like, okay, on paper, it's my background. Like I said, I'm sports centric, sports trained, sports casting, bachelor's degree from Full Sail. I was part of the inaugural class for that program. Everything we did was the first time it was being done. And so I know the industry, I know the sports aspect. And so I like that I can bring that to this, which I think is in need of it to make it to the next level. And so there's conversations we have where I'll throw out ideas that, haven't even been thought of because that's where my mind is. My mind is in the sports production side of it. Like, well, in sport, this is what you want, typically in this situation. And that's why I love Ricky, is because he's been able to kind of bridge that gap. Him and I have had amazing conversations after just about every event where it's like, so what did you think of this? And I'll tell him, and he's like, yeah, I totally get that. And I think you're right. And I think if we did this maybe, but I don't know about that. And we'll just feed off each other back and forth. And it's just been fantastic. He's truly somebody that gets it, that wants this sport to be what we all know it's capable of at the end of the day.
Very cool. JP Bark says, what prep work did you or didn't you do to get ready for your role?
Well, I did go back and watch some of the previous NHRL events when I was told kind of what I would be doing, because it was a little unclear. They said, yeah, probably pit reporting, commentary, and I was like, both or either or, and they weren't really sure. So I went and kind of watched how the commentary was. And I said, okay, I get it. The hardest thing is the commentary, hands down, because there's a rhythm to every other sport in the world except for combat robotics. There is no rhythm. It's just, how can you keep up with the chaos? There's, in football, it's done so perfectly. It's like the standard of commentary, because down and distance, play happens, play's over. Talk about play. What worked, what didn't. Move on to next play. Baseball, pitch, strike ball, whatever, home run, change up, what worked, what didn't, what are they going to do next? Soccer, it's a little bit more loosey-goosey, and basketball can happen and change very fast. Hockey is incredibly difficult, but yeah, the world of combat robotics is probably right up there with UFC, where you're really just you're setting yourself up to react is all that you're doing. And so I would watch, some of my favorite WWE matches from years past, some UFC stuff I put in, I pulled up some old episodes of BattleBots. I'm a huge Kenny Florian fan. And the way that he commentates, and having the chance to talk to him and Chris Rose on Red Square, Blue Square was such a dream come true. And those guys are fantastic. And then for the pit reporting, I spent, a lot of time basically pulling up sideline interviews, and just kind of recalling to moments where they were giving check-ins, like it's halftime, we saw this guy get carted off the field, and so on and so forth. So it was just a lot of, okay, I think this is going to be like this, and so we're going to kind of pull from here, and we're going to leave room for this and this, but you don't know until you get in it. It is really, the short end of the stick is that you don't know until you do it. And so I tried to prep and plan as best I could, and it was more, how do I do this and not what am I doing it about? I kind of let my time in the pits be what it was, and then the event unfold as it needed to, because I didn't want to come in with expectations and think, okay, if I'm not able to do this, then my whole day is ruined, the whole thing is shot, call it off. I wanted to leave room for the sport of NHRL to tell me how it's supposed to be done, and then I just kind of went with it.
Nice, I like that.
Yeah, it is quite chaos at all times.
Yes.
Yeah. I think, have you gone and watched people repair? Have you gotten into that part of it yet? Like, I know you're up doing the actual pit repairing, because that is one thing that I feel like you really need to experience to really understand how chaotic, the fight is the fun part in a lot of ways, because most of the day when you're doing NHRL, when you're a builder, is spent going, okay, I need to make sure I screw every single screw in the correct way, and make sure I figure out exactly what's, and gluing things.
I don't think people that have not built a bot realize how much glue goes into putting a bot together. Glue before bringing it downstairs.
Yeah.
The amount of times that you go over, especially us at the pit, and the first time we ever brought a robot, we didn't realize this until we were told. And the amount of times you go over there and they're like, oh, I just have to super glue this. And it's literally just super gluing parts that you're going to then have to ratchet off afterwards. But if you don't super glue it, the forces that are at play inside that cage can make it pop off, whether it's screwed down as tight as possible or not. So it's just crazy how much glue goes into right before a fight, making sure things stay where they're supposed to be.
They really need to make you and Sam and maybe Ricky all have like a competition to screw a top plate on.
I could see that for sure.
That would be
for that.
That would be super fun to watch.
Yeah.
So my whole philosophy with what I do, both in NHRL and independently here in Montana and just throughout my career, is that my motto, more or less, is I will respect your time and talent if you can respect my time and talent. Because at the end of the day, we all have jobs to do. And so I never want to feel like somebody is obligated to do something for me, because as a reporter, as a member of the media, as everything, like, it's a privilege for us to be there, not a right. We can get kicked out of games, arenas, anytime we want. Now, I can't as a pit reporter, obviously, but I don't want them to dread me walking their direction. So I try to give them space. I have hovered from time to time, but between Jake and JMO and a few others, there have been those moments in primetime in the pits where there is frantic things happening, and I will just kind of nudge my way, and I will get this look up. And it's like, you know, you walk through the front door and your wife knows you forgot the milk. That's that look. It's just like,
You think you get that look? You think you get that look? You think you get that look? Especially during prime times, because we have this rule from the first time prime time started. We were calling over the microphone, and then I think, Ryan, you were the one who originally said it. We're like, why are we calling them over the microphone when they're literally sitting right there? So we decided to, and we've done it during every single prime time now, is prime time gets special attention, where we get up and we walk over and we talk to them to see how far out they are and how much time they need, and to know that they're up. But they get the special attention from us, that we're not over the microphone like yelling at them. But yeah, having those looks when you're like, I need to go tell them that they have 5 minutes left, and that robot is entirely in pieces, but I have to go tell them they have 5 minutes left because I'm being told that they have 5 minutes left. So, you think you get those looks? We are the king of those looks.
And the worst for that is Brazilians. Brazilians love to rip robots apart. That is their favorite thing, is to completely rip robots apart. I feel like they don't even do it, even if they don't need to do it. They completely disassemble the robot after every single fight and reassemble it again.
I was going to say, it's literally, I got dinged once. Let me rip this entire robot apart and put it back together.
Yeah, they kept getting a hold of me through my earpiece, being like, hey, there's something going on with the Brazilian team. Can you go check it out? And I go, and there's a language barrier, of course. And I don't know how many times I have to insist, like, if there's one person that can translate or interpret, if they can please be available every time I approach the pit, it's going to make things so much easier. And nobody did that. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk, and hopefully one of you three looking at me picks it up and can tell me what I need to know. I was like, are we okay? And they're just like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, what? And they're like, just screwing top back on. And I'm like, okay. And so I told them, I was like, yeah, there's nothing wrong. And they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, dude, that's what they told me. Like, as best as we can communicate, that's the word. And so you're right. Like, they will take the whole damn thing apart, dude.
Yes.
Like, tighten a wire or something. So
there was one time in this last competition I went over and I told them, I was like, you have 10 minutes, and I got 10 minutes, and I was like, and I went back to the desk and I was like, I told them 10 minutes, I think they got it. I don't know, it's fine.
They have learned to reassemble their robots, kind of like you watch in like movies about the army, and like they could reassemble their rifle in like a speedy amount of time. They could do that with their robots. It's insane.
Yeah, they're really good. Okay, so Julian Papazian, our now arch villain of NHRL apparently, asks, what's your favorite NHRL moment from before you joined the team? So I know you said you did a lot of watching to prepare for your role before you did your first event. What's your favorite NHRL moment from the past, from before you joined the team?
There was a JMO win, because, you know, when you get to know these guys in other areas of life, you know, and then you see them again here. I just remember going to BattleBots and being there and watching certain teams and certain captains put in so much energy and effort into this thing to come up short because of just dumb luck or something that there was a slight oversight on. And you really felt for me. It was just like, God, like they deserve to have their moment. And I remember there was a time, I wish I could recall the exact event, but there was a time when JMO won where, I was just like, good for him, man. Like, that's so cool to see him. I know it wasn't on that same stage as BattleBots, but it just was very reassuring, that there are those people that finally get, what they deserve in good ways and not bad ways all the time.
Yep. So Jake from Maximizer actually asks, outside of events, how do you prepare for being on the desk? Any favorite pit stories so far?
For being on the commentary desk, I try. They don't give us the schedule of the fights until like that morning, and so I'll look over them and kind of be like, "Oh, okay, this should be a good one." Or if the teams know, I'll ask them like, "Who do you fight first?" And then you just kind of hope, if it sounds like a good one, that you get to be there for it. So there's very little prep on the desk or in the commentary booth for that. But as far as prep for the pits, I try to go recall everything that happened during the day, even though with the KO show we've had to kind of improvise a little. There's been some technical issues that we've had to adapt to, and so some stuff gets missed, and I know I can fully admit that I fumbled a couple of times on stuff, and it's nobody's fault but my own, because I either didn't catch that or didn't make note of it or something happened. But there's so much that goes on from the prelims through the KO show that it's just so much to try to keep up with. And sometimes you get caught like that. But I don't think there's any level of planning or preparation that a person could do each event to pitch a perfect game. If that ever happens, I'd be more than happy to tell you. But there is a lot of prepping and planning. I love trying to get the best storylines I can from the pits the night before. But out of the 27 storylines I get, I can maybe use 3 by the time I'm either on the mic for commentary in the prelims, or it happens at KO. So it's just, there's a lot that happens and changes from, within 24 hours.
Nice. Stephanie from Dark Horse, I'm just going to skip your question just because Richard already answered it when he was talking about his past, but she said, what led you to NHRL? Was this your introduction to combat robotics? But you already answered that. So Lincoln asks a very interviewee question. Where do you see NHRL and the sport 6 months from now, 1 year, and 5 years?
Well, I think it has the potential to be a lot further than it is right now. And what I mean is it should be, I've been around some productions, some great productions and some not great productions. And this thing is top quality. I mean that in every sense of the word. Like the amount of tech and money that's been invested into this thing, there's no reason it shouldn't be on a Discovery Channel. There's no reason it shouldn't be a regular on ESPN or something, because it is that well done. So I think once the higher ups that are on several pay grades above mine, that are in charge of making that happen, once they crack that code, it'll be a beautiful thing, because there's obviously a market for it. There's clearly a fan base, and there's an audience and a want. So you have all the things that you need. It's just a matter of selling it to the people that think that they know more than you, and why it's important. Like, when I would dress up as a superhero, like something out of Mystery Men or, something super low budget and cheesy, and count down the top 5 plays in the state of Montana, I was told by my boss to be prepared for that to fail, because it probably was going to. And then it took off. And the question I still get asked to this day is, after doing that for a full year, how no sponsor ever picked it up. And I said, that was not my job. That was above my pay grade. They told me they had it handled, but your guess is as good as mine. And then another guy who worked news called me and said, hey, just to let you know, that should have been picked up 10 times over. Here it would have been, like in the first day, we would have had sponsors ringing in to try to buy that thing. So somebody in your marketing didn't do their job the right way, or at all. And so sometimes it's just like that. I'm not saying nobody's doing their job in NHRL at all. They all work very hard. I think it's just finding that right fit at this point. So I think 6 months from now, you could see it. And then a year from now, just expand that, blow that up.
Yeah, we've said multiple times that even if they didn't want to go down that way, that there's other ways to maybe do it in the more episode-y, function and online, even doing it through YouTube, just making a YouTube show or making something in the not Patreon, but like that kind of like own website subscription kind of way, or so they'll crack the code at some point. It's just a really well done show, so it's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So Tim from Chubby Unicorn says, if you could drive any NHRL bot for a grudge match, which would it be?
Ooh, do I have to pick who my opponent would be, or just who I would want?
Just your bot. Which bot do you want to drive?
I love that he would write that in because he knows how much I love the Guitar Hero and then the Rock Band drums. Man, that was such a cool day. So obviously that for those reasons, Chubby Unicode. But I think just the overall fun it is to watch that bot, and the one that I think I could maybe, because I mean, you don't realize just how hard it is to drive those things until you try and drive one of those things. Like it is a skill. I think Liftoff would be a fun one to drive, just to watch that thing spin around and make contact. And then I don't know, a Chainsaw Kitty would be a lot of fun to drive around, because that thing is just built like a brick. Those would be a lot of fun to just sort of point and charge, any of the bots from the Brazilian teams like Rio Bots, they build solid bots. So that would be a lot of fun to just go and just charge and try to rip a bot to pieces. So those would probably be my picks right there.
Okay, very cool. Brenton from Forceville Robotics says, what are the biggest challenges of doing live commentary in such a high-speed environment?
Well, that's it, exactly. It's a high-speed environment. That's the challenge. Like I said earlier, you're less trying to inform the viewer of what's about to happen and more setting yourself up to react to what's about to happen. The top 3 sports in the country, football, baseball, and basketball, they all have where even me as a reporter, when I'm shooting sports, those are my 3 favorites because I know what I'm looking for. Soccer, I never know when they're about to score a goal. I listen to the crowd because they actually know. And if they start to get excited, I'm like, oh, something could potentially, possibly, maybe happen in this moment or a few moments from now. And so with combat robotics, it can happen so fast. And you're talking 3 minutes. And it can be over, as we saw, in less than 3 seconds, or it can go the distance and there wasn't really a whole lot, or there was a bot that dominated the first minute 50, or the first minute and a half, and then the other bot dominated the second. So you're doing less informing the viewer of what is about to happen and getting ready to react, or what is happening and getting ready to react to what's about to happen, and just kind of staying on your toes that way. So at the chaos and fast pace is exactly what makes it the most challenging. And there's times where, you want to get into the backstory of the bot is made with this, and this is its 3rd iteration and configuration, and they changed this, and this bot is fighting out of Ohio, and this is their 4th event. Like, you want to do all that stuff, but there's got to be, I wish we had time leading into the fight for that information, because once the fight starts, nobody wants to hear that stuff. Like, they want your reaction to the action happening in the cage. And so it's best to just kind of let that happen and you react to it and give your best 2 cents when there's the time and space for it.
So you said you watched some of the older NHRLs. I don't know if you watched any of the ones back when we did double elimination and we went to 3 o'clock in the morning, but there was a lot of time for that when we were doing double elimination, just because the amount of times between repairs and all of the kind of things that went into that. And also because the show is not as buttoned up and streamlined as it is now. But the host used to, Chris, Luke, and Lindsay, or whoever was on the desk, used to have to try and find that info that you're talking about. They used to have time for that info, and they had sheets of info just so that they could make sure that they were able to talk about that stuff as things were going on, because it wasn't as it was fast paced, but it wasn't as fast paced as we have it now. They were able to say, this is a bot from Ohio, this is their first, and like they used to be able to throw all that information out. So it's interesting that we've gotten it sped up and buttoned up enough that it's hard to throw some of that info that you want in now.
Yeah, for sure.
They also used to be able to do thumb wars.
Thumb wrestling. We used to call it the weird.
We don't want the weird time of the night back.
Yeah, no, we used to call it the weird time of the night. We used to be there 1 o'clock in the morning watching Luke and Chris thumb wrestle.
I don't know how that hasn't been used for a cold open yet. How it hasn't.
So Matt from the Team Pandemonium says, Richard, what's something you think you do well as a commentator, and what's something you need to improve on?
Well, I definitely can always improve on several things, but the biggest glaring thing is my history, with it. It's hard to, I could tell you so many things about the 49ers because I've watched them since I was a little kid. And so there's not many people that could out history me on that team. And that's just because of time and dedication and the want to know more. And I know that my want to know more is there every event. I want to know more about this team. I want to know more about their butt. I want to know more about what drives them to compete. Do they even want to compete, Tom Farkas? So it's, it's a lot of that. I wish that my brain was, Gil is such a huge asset to NHRL because he's just a walking Wikipedia for the sport. I mean, you ask him anything and he knows. And there's a tremendous amount of respect I have for those individuals in the industry because I've come across at least one every job that I've had where it's just like, God, you know so much and you could probably forget more than I could ever learn. And it's crazy. So I definitely want to get more of the history. Right now it's names. I'm terrible with names, but we see so many new faces at each event that I'm still trying to remember the faces I spent time with the last event. And instead of okay, Chainsaw Kitty, tell me, it's not their name, it's their boss name, or Pandemonium, what's going on? I want to know their names. I want to be able to call everybody on the first name basis. But when you have 12 Andrews and 4 Chris's and 16 Jonathans, sometimes you get a little lost. I called somebody the wrong name twice at this last event because their name was the same as somebody else. And I was like, no, it can't be that because that was this person. So it's just, there's so much because the event happens so fast and you have the day of production and, I could go back and go over everything from a previous event, but how much of that is going to carry over to the next? Is it time wasted or time well spent? So I know for me, I love the energy that I bring to both commentary and the personality I bring to the pits. I love when I can call a fight confidently, I know about both of them. I know both of their drivers' names or their captains' names, and I know a little backstory there. And so, anytime that I worked for a team in arena football or other sports, it was I would be on commentary, and as color, you kind of add that little backstory, that little extra. And there was a time where one of the teams was down and they were in field goal range, but they weren't going to go for the field goal. And I said, no, man, if I know Marvin Jones like I know him, he's not going to settle for a field goal right now. He wants to go for the throw. They're going to go for it. And if they don't get it, then he's going to have a long conversation with his team on the sideline before their next drive. And that's just the kind of thing that I strive to get at these events is I want to be able to feel like I know the person confidently enough where I can see that through their driving.
Well, You're getting into the World Championships next, which probably is going to be a lot easier for that respect because you can go back and watch their fights from when they won and everything else like that. So it should be a fun commentating time.
I don't know if we've talked to you at all because you come from the sports world or if you've seen anything about it, but we did start a fantasy league for combat robotics this year.
Heard you guys mention that. I was curious how that worked.
I don't know if you're on Discord, but if you want to check it out, we will also have our draft for the championships the Tuesday before. I don't know, but that's the end of November, so I'm not sure what date that'll be, but so this is our experimental fantasy league for combat robotics. It's gone way better than I ever thought it was going to the point that we have people chomping at the bit to get in next year. So, we'll have to talk to you about it and show you how it works. So
we're going to be handing out our first trophy at the World Championships, actually.
It's literally printing right now behind Tony.
Literally printing behind me.
I was going to say, if you guys want a belt, I know a company that makes them.
Okay. So our last question comes from Michael from Team Pandemonium. He says, let me start with the shout out to you. He says, it was really nice to meet you. Thank you for the compliment, but I'm not a legend yet. I need some gold dumpsters first. So that was from Michael, but his question is, builders generally go back and watch the stream for various reasons. Do you ever go back and watch the stream? If so, what are you looking for?
I'll go back and watch my parts just to make sure that what I believed was coming through the broadcast did come through. I think that's something that when you're in front of the camera, it's hard to tell, okay, we call it neutral face. When you're a sideline reporter or you're doing a live hit out at an event and the person that's at the desk or wherever is leading into your portion, and so all of a sudden it's a side-by-side box and you have to just stand there like frozen, like, yeah, you hear them and there's going to be a delay. Don't look stupid for the next 4 seconds or however long it takes to get to you. And so you have neutral face. So you're not smiling because it hurts if you do it too long, and you're not frowning or just like resting whatever face. It's neutral face. So you kind of, your cheek muscles are just a little tightened, and so that's neutral face. So I try to make sure that whether I think the camera is actually on me or on the person talking or the bot or whatever, that I don't look stupid, because you don't want to ever be a meme for the wrong reasons, and that I'm speaking clearly. Did I stumble over my words? Should I make sure that I say this correctly? Did I say that correctly? So I'm always making sure that everything that I did came through the way that it needed to, and if it didn't, I know what to work on for the next time. Beyond that, though, it's really. Sometimes I wish I could go back and see the comments, and sometimes I'm like, nah, it's probably best that I don't, because like I said, this community is so particular. Any change or any new faces, you never know how they're going to react to it. And thankfully, the people that matter the most, which is the teams and the builders up in the pits, have been extremely welcoming. They're fantastic. They really are. And so I've been hit up by John Remar, head referee for BattleBots, after my first event, and even some who I thought completely forgot about me after my time doing BattleBots, that said, hey, that was a great event, you fit right in, or like, awesome job, and blah, blah, blah. And that's great coming from them, and that's very reassuring, and that's the kind of people whose feedback I care about the most. But for the people that are Team NHRL and nothing else, like they've never seen an episode of BattleBots, like I'm new to their world, and I want to make sure that I am earning their respect and earning a positive reaction from them by portraying somebody who, gives a crap about this, because I do, and people can read that right away if you want to be there or if you don't, and that I'm genuinely interested in these teams and in this sport.
Okay. Very cool. Well, thank you. That wraps up our November recap and another awesome episode. Thank you for chatting with us, Richard. It was very good to get to know you and get to know the person that we work so closely with especially during prime time during events. So
I'm surprised nobody asked if the Mohawk was coming back for the next event for championships. That takes some doing, man. Like, I was surprised that there was a vote in the control room as to whether or not I should have it, and that Kimberly, my producer, was one of the loudest voices to have it happen, because I thought she would have shot that down so quick, because she works for ESPN Plus, and I come from that world, and that would never fly in that world ever.
Yeah,
so,
you need to have the Mohawk.
So to hear that she was like, no, you need to do that tomorrow, like, bring it. We'll see. But that was I was very surprised to see the reaction from people.
If you don't have it, no one will remember you. They'll be like, wait, who's that guy over there? You put the Mohawk on. Oh, hey, how's it going?
Friday, I almost got escorted out by security because they didn't know who I was, because they didn't recognize me, because I was in full punk rock gear Friday. And so I was like, it's me, man. No, I'm in the band, man. I didn't even recognize you.
Yeah,
Nice.
Sure you are. Okay, get out of here.
Well, thank you for hanging out with us. So we're going to be throwing this episode up, and then for our preview episode for championships, we actually have Jamison Go as our guest.
Ooh.
So Jamison Go is going to be joining us for our preview episode for championships, which is going to be pretty cool. So we've been looking forward to that one for quite a while, but we're now announcing that is a confirmed interview. So Jamison Go is going to be joining us for that, and we look forward to seeing all of you at championships, where we will be crowning the world champion for Beetles, Hobby, and Feathers. Richard will be there, Worrell will be there, and we can't wait to see you there, and we can't wait to have you listen to this episode and our next. If you want to stay in the loop and hear all of previous episodes, watch our videos because we have our YouTube now where we put up all these episodes. You can follow us on social media, grab some Havoc Rundown merch, or support the podcast by using our link tree, which is at linktr.ee/Havoc Rundown. Again, that is linktr.ee/Havoc Rundown. Thanks again to Richard and to our crew and to you for listening. We'll see you next time. And we'll see you cage side. Everyone say goodbye to our listeners, please.
Farewell. Bye, everyone. See you there. Be square.